And away we go. Alright, so here, this is a three-way poker match between me, that is Gage Brown, and Olivia Rasnick, and James Luk, whose name is Varg down there. Anyway, alright, so this should be interesting. Actually, I think that all three of us are ENTPs, so here we have an ENTP three-way, and as far as I know, I've heard that it's not gay if it's in a three-way, so assuming that nothing about this is gay. Anyway, alright, so Olivia's on the button. I don't really remember how James plays. I don't know. We'll see. Just have to feel it out. I mean, here, my head is garbage, but, like, it's a min-raise and a call in front of me, and I'm closing the action, so I really actually can't fold any hand here. The pot odds are just too overwhelming, but I end up check folding the flop a ton because I'm just going to hit nothing a lot with my junk hands here. Like, that's a real specific, unique situation where, like, my calling ranges are, like, ridiculously wide. It's literally every hand just because, like, I'm closing the action and the pot odds are so ridiculous versus a min-raise and a caller. That's kind of a rare spot. So you lead the turn and take it down, though. That works. We get James on the button in this hand, and he's going to limp button. So he has a limp behind 9-8 off. I mean, this especially since Olivia is probably going to raise very, very few hands here. This is kind of, that limp sort of incentivizes me to limp a ton of small blinds as well. But, like, he, just, like, take a stab here. I mean, I think nobody has anything here a lot. I mean, Olivia checks back and pulls her check back in min-raise turn move, so that's a good play. I mean, that's a good way to exploit me if I'm leading out way too much garbage on the turn there, which, to be fair, it was at that moment. So maybe that's a good play. I don't know. It kind of depends on what she had. So she's open min-raising the small blind against James. He is min-3 betting. That makes neither, and min-4 bet. Okay, all of those plays are very goofy. Should definitely be making it much bigger. This is technically a 4-bet pot. But, you know, I mean, so there's like an open min-raise, min-3 bet, min-4 bet call. That's cute. Anyway, and then they both check the turn after a c-bet and a call. I really have no idea what either of them has here. I think they both just have, like, a lot of random garbage when they play it this way. You have ace high, and yeah, you win with ace queen high. Very nice. That's cute. We don't get to see what James had, but anyway, so we get 2 limps. I'm just gonna go ahead and like 5x this. I expect to just get like a lot of calls pre-flop, but I also expect to get a lot of credit post-flop and be able to get them to one or both of them to fold. And he's gonna call me out of position. Then he's gonna have nothing on this flop like really often and have to fold like quite a bit. So half pot only needs to work 1/3 of the time here to make money. So I mean, yeah, we're just gonna fold easily and take it down. He's going to limp again, so it looks like they're probably both going to be really passive pre-flop, like way too passive pre-flop. So I'm going to get away with playing a lot of hands I shouldn't be able to play, just because they aren't going to aggressively push me around enough before the flop. I mean, he's going to min-bet flop. I mean, let's let it go. The third person in the pot. Just make sure James understands. Alright, just make sure he knew he didn't have to min-raise there, or min-bet. Anyway, okay, so now we're opening the button with the Jack-10 off. Very standard. We got one caller from Olivia calls in the small blinds, and we flop a gutter, so we're just going to take a big stab at this and try to maximize flop fold equity here, and then not really fire again on very many turns, but she just folds. So we got a limp from Olivia. Very, very passive pre-flop game here. It's kind of interesting. You don't see this a lot, like in competitive games, everyone's aggressive pre-flop in general. I mean, here honestly, I'm just gonna call because I have position on James, and I know Olivia's gonna call. So or she just folds, which is even better for me. I mean, I guess with no equity, we just fold here. I fully expect a ton of. Oh, he min raised this button. Let's just fold. So Olivia's going to slightly overbet. Olivia really likes this slight overbet. It's kind of interesting. I like to do that occasionally on rivers, mostly with a pretty polarized range. I think that in this game, honestly, I normally don't. I normally don't open this hand quite this week on the button against two opponents, but I think this game's just gonna be so passive, and I'm gonna get away with so much stuff post flop that I don't really. I think I can afford to lead out to open a wider range on the button than usual, and of course now we just fold versus a lead and a call. We have obviously nothing. Min raise turn. This should be fun. I think that James has a strong hand here, most of the time. He's going to have an ace, at least, if not, two pair. Olivia might have just made a flush on the river. If she leads, she probably... Or she could just be blocking betting for that size, and we're going to min-raise. Yeah, James has a very strong hand here. I think, he rivers. This straight flush. Oh, my lord. Holy crap. Wow, that's pretty intense. He made a straight flush in the first 8 minutes of the game. Wow, well, interesting hand there. Alright, so I'm just going to raise it up real big here out of position versus the two limps. I'm really going to try to pick on their limps here a lot. I expect them to both call pre-flop with too wide a range, and then just play badly post-flop, and I can just kind of tear them up as long as my hand isn't, atrocious, I can raise a lot in those spots. Alright, so Olivia's going to min 3-bet me. I mean, obviously can't really fold anything to this size. They flop nothing and probably just check fold now. Okay, I guess she checks back the flop. I don't know, she likes to trap check a fair bit, and I have no equity, so I'm not really inclined to just lead out with nothing here. And the queen high, min 3-bet with queen 2. Alright, so her min 3-bet range can actually be all sorts of junk. We have now found out. So just, I'm just going to be opening pretty big on the button, like even a little bit. I'm going to go 3.5, or I normally just go 3. Just going to expect like way too few 3-bets from both of them pre-flop and way too many calls. And we flop trips, which is excellent. Just go with the half pot c-bet here. And we turn boat, which is great. I think actually this is a great spot to check back and like over shove the river, because checking back the turn should look like I don't really ever have a 9, and she only has twice the pot. And I think that she'll just call me with like any pair, like ace high even. Definitely a 6 calls. I think that she'll just put me on a bluff a good bit here and make like a silly call with like ace high or pocket 7s or something. Yeah, or just jack high. That's pretty terrible. Yeah, that was a pretty awful call, but you know, it's a learning experience, right? So we're gonna limp spot, just lead out with our flush draw. He calls again. I'm actually gonna like overbet the turn here, like close to double pot, just because like I want him to fold if he doesn't have the king, and he doesn't fold. Oh, we river flush. Excellent, cool. Now I think we can probably get a lot of money out of the king here. I'm gonna bet like 38. Flush is good. Alright, so I'm gonna write down our buy-ins here. Just I mean, this isn't real money, but I'm just keeping track for fun. And for 100, Olivia for 200, James for 100. Had to see it, he says. Well, fair enough. 5x over his limp here. They both call. We flop nothing. I don't really want to see that like nothing here into 2 opponents. Like against one of them I would, but okay. I mean, I've really half pot the turn now that they both checked, and I'll get some folds. Yeah, there we go. So yeah, I think that the biggest mistakes these guys, these people are going to be making are probably just being way too passive pre-flop, just flat calling too wide a range that they can't really reasonably defend post-flop. So, you know, we'll see how that goes. Uh, 6-3 off, and then I guess like, you can't raise that out of position. I mean, we flop a pair, though, so just stab out. I mean, it's probably better than her limping range, since we have any pair. Yeah, we get enough folds, just worth a bet. Alright, so you're just going to live behind on the small one, 9-7 off. Flop top pair, that's just lead out pot. And we're on the button with an ace-6, so I'm going with my big pot-sized open here. Like I said, this is a little bit bigger than I usually open on the button, and that's because I expect, that's a specific adjustment, because I expect too few 3-bets and too many calls from both of them, with too wide a range. He leads out $1. I mean, Just raise. I mean, I'm going to start off just kind of trying to figure out what his min bet means. The first time I see it, it's typically a blocking bet from like a very middling hand. Then he's going to call my raise, so I think this is a good turn card to barrel. Yeah, that's a good. He just folds. Alright, cool. So the problem with that, like when he leads out the minimum $1 like that, unless he's really going out of his way to put a lot of very good hands in that range, he probably just has too many like very middling hands. He has what we would technically call a condensed range, and so it just becomes too easy for me to bluff raise lots of hands and just barrel him off the pot really often because he's kind of given away the fact that his range isn't that strong by leading out the minimum. It's a typical kind of, lower intermediate sort of mistake to make. I think I can half pot for thin value with a deuce here and get called by like ace high against Olivia. She min raises river. I mean, okay, we'll pay that off and see what she's doing it with. Ace high, nope. Okay, yeah, that river min raise is absurd. Like, I don't like it at all. Like, there's no, again, it seems like Olivia's sort of chief mistake is just, besides being cheap passive and lose pre-flop, it is just like raising with too many like really mediocre hands that don't get enough action from worse hands and don't really fold out enough better hands. When she makes those big raises and those bets and raises, I think that she should probably have a more polarized range more of the time. So we just see bet with enough flush draw into James. Get called. Turn doesn't help. I'm just gonna barrel pretty big again. He calls twice. River doesn't help. We just have to give up now. I mean, he almost certainly has a speed. He probably has a king here very often. A 10, busted draw maybe. It's fine. We'll just check fold it for now. Good hand. I think he can have some busted draws there. It's possible he bluffed us, but I don't know. It's fine. I mean, played it pretty standard. I think he also could well have had an 8 there. I think like he probably technically should have folded an 8 on the turn, but I think that he could call 2 streets with an 8 there, and then easily would obviously shove river when he makes trips if he had an 8, and he could also do it with a king. Probably not with a 10, but I think he has a king or an 8 often enough that I can't really call with the level of information I have right now. I don't really know how he plays that spot enough. I don't know how many of his busted draws he'll turn into bluffs there, so just gonna, for now, just kind of there on the side of caution and fold there. So get a limp on the button from Olivia now, and so on James, make some passive aggressive sleeping sounds in the chat, and they both limp. So there's a make it like $6 here. Olivia's gonna call. And James folds. We flop top pair on a pretty gross board. There's really a lot of very bad turn cards here, so I actually kind of prefer that you just fold this board. If we get raised, that's really, really bad here, but thankfully she just folds. 10-4 off. I'm just folding regardless here. I don't even care what he does. Well, I mean, I guess if he limps button, I'll fold. Or, I mean, I'll limp behind if he limps button, just because I think Olivia will raise so rarely, and, I'll have, like, an exaggerated post-flop edge against both these people, but... So this is kind of interesting. Paid off by ace queen, or ace queen wins. Very nice hand, James. We get min 3 bet. I mean, obviously we can't fold any hand to that really. Flop a middling top pair. You know, I'm a little worried here because he can probably min 3-bet his like very strong hands, like his big pairs. But I mean, I still can't really go anywhere for the min 3-bet or for a c-bet when I flop top pair. So, I mean, all right, we'll call one more, but I'm probably folding a lot of rivers here unless I improve. Yeah, I think we're just beat here too often. We're gonna fold river. All right, we got the Jack 10 suited here. This is definitely a hand we can raise it up with versus a limp. I'm just gonna make it my $6. I'm raising like kind of a little bit larger than usual size for this spot. Just as again, I don't expect to get raised enough, and I expect to get called by too many hands, and I have a pretty good starting hand, so yup. Flats, so flop top pair. It's gonna take out. I mean, it's pretty coordinated flop, so I'm just gonna take a pretty big c bet. Olivia, where are you? James is gonna min raise small blind versus limper. They should never really do that with any hand. Like against the button limper, he should be raising a larger size than that. Or some min raise or min bet flop. I guess I'll call. Olivia min raises flop. Oh, this is silly. Okay. All right. Olivia min raises. River trip 5s. That's pretty lucky. Dude, that's what they get for like. They've both been betting so small the whole time. It's just like I'm gonna overbet here. Like $36, twice the pot. Olivia calls all in. James folds. Trip 5s on the river to win. See, like that's what they get for like making it so cheap the whole time. Like they just made it really affordable for me to easily draw out. I mean, that's why generally making really tiny bets like that to give your opponent insane drawing odds is not good most of the time. Alright, looks like Olivia's dropping out of the game. Let's see if James will still play heads up. I like like a check call here. That's standard and default. Against like fishier passive players, I think you can also half pot. And it's fine, but I can get a little bit thinner value on the turn. Half potting now. Calls. 8 doesn't do much. I think a bigger bet actually gets called by like a worse pair here quite often. I don't think he has a king that often because he checked back the flop. And he makes a gigantic river raise, which I think suggests he hits some sort of draw, 2-pair set. So I'll fold. Yeah, she says he made a straight on the river. I believe him. I mean, I don't think he's lying about that. I think that line just looks incredibly strong, and I doubt that he's aggressive enough to be really putting bluffs in that range much, so. Fine with my play there. Nothing. I mean, whatever. Just no reason to really go after him here. Flip a bottom pair of 7s here. Just going to take a kind of a larger stab because I'm sort of polarizing here. I'm turning this hand into a bluff. I'm not really looking to get called by many worse hands. I pick up a flush draw on the turn. That's definitely worth barreling. Going to barrel 3/4 pot again there. Pair plus flush draw. Get min raised on the turn. I obviously have to call. River doesn't help me. There's 4 to a straight on board now. I mean, I really don't have much of anything. Just let it go. I'm going to check, see what he's doing this with. He just had 2-pair on the turn. Yeah, I mean, he probably check calls a river bet, I imagine. Unless I like overbet or something. So that's fair enough. He limps the button. I'm going to basically check 7-2 off. Flop a pair, lead out, sure, whatever. Standard. Calls. Turn ace doesn't help, but I can probably barrel bluff here pretty effectively. 3. I think that he just like. I'm gonna try like a overbet bluff here and just sort of see what happens. Yeah, there we go. I think he represents a very middling hand, a range because of the limp call line he played, and he doesn't have that many ace-x in his range, and so unless he's willing to call me down with like worse than top pair there for an overbet, I expect just a ton of folds. So that's, I don't know, that's a little out there. Oh, he folds some aces. That's a shame. But yeah, that's a little out there. But I think that, like, you know, might be good. We'll see. Although actually, I just instinctively folded that out of habit because I normally fold it against most people. But I think that against like a player this passive, it probably actually should have just been an open. I should just probably open literally every button against him. Here I have some backdoor straight and flush draws at a limp pot. I'm just gonna take a stab. You get enough folds, yeah. So yeah, I am going to adopt a policy of just opening every button here unless I start seeing him 3-bet like a non-zero frequency, but he's just not 3-betting like at all, so pre-flop anyway, so. You can just check back ace high here. I mean, turn a 5, that's pretty good. He checks again, I can just half pot kind of for thin value. He's going to check raise. I don't necessarily buy that. I mean, I think that looks sort of like an impulsive bluff. He could have done it to trap me with a jack. But it just looks a little silly. I don't know. I mean, alright, I'll just pay it off and see what he's doing. Yeah, he had a jack. That's fair. I kind of figured he would have that pretty often. I just kind of called to see whether that check raise was bullshit or not. It felt a little bluffy. But you know, I just sort of wanted to pay the relatively small price to find out what he's doing there. And see if he's capable of bluffing that spot, or if he is actually more capable of check raising, like double checking to deceive me with a good hand. And it looks like it was the latter, so that's useful information to have. King high, good. He 3-bets for the first time. Cool. All right. Well, standard 4-bet size here. Pocket eights, that's probably not good to get all in pre-flop with that. And queens are going to hold up for the win. Pretty standard to get pocket queens all in pre here. For me, obviously, heads up, I'm never going to get away from that. This stacked up. But, I do think that's probably too wide. I think he could maybe reasonably get it in with like 10s there, but I think lower than 10s is probably going to be too loose in general most of the time. I'm just going to take a stab at the turn with nothing because he checked back flop quickly, and I think he's, after losing that big pot, he's probably going to back off and be like less inclined to come after me. So I could probably, you know, maybe steal a few more pots than usual, at least for a little while. I mean, here I can just see bet half pot and get, you know, it's such a dry flop. He's going to miss enough. I'll get a fold at least a third of the time. And then this turn card actually should probably scare away most of his weaker pairs that are not an ace. But if he calls again quickly like that, he just has an ace too often, and I just give up. We'll let him have it. A pair of threes. I didn't think that hand would call the turn, but nice hand. That's cool. I'm going to lead out my backdoor diamonds here, and I'm going to body just fold. Super flop a middling top pair. It looks like he seems to call really light if we start off with half pot on the flop and then like get bigger on later streets, but just folds this time. So I'm gonna consider that line like the half pot flop and like 3/4 pot turn. I'm gonna maybe try to do that with my good hands for a little bit if it comes up, because it seems like he didn't give me very much credit when I played that particular line. I mean that's really exploitative, but like I don't expect him to be able to really exploit me for it very much. Here I'm just gonna like, I haven't really been raising his limps much. I'll probably get a lot of credit, so yeah. It's a little wide, obviously, but you know, it's kind of a situational thing. So do it again, obviously, with a very good hand here. Limp calls, we flop top pair, tip kicker. I think this is actually a good spot to like value check raise if I can get him to bet, and if I can't, then I can just lead out like kind of some middling sizes on the turn, and now I'll get a fold anyway. I think he probably had absolutely nothing, and there was really nothing we could do to get money in there, which is fine. We flop open-ended with third pocket pair. That's not bad. I'm going to go for the somewhat bigger sizing here. I'm really treating this as more of a draw, and I kind of prefer that he just fold the flop. The check raise is real big. I mean, we clearly have to call with a draw this deep. Turn doesn't really help. But we can now river probably a 6, 3, or ace and win most of the time. Okay, I'm going to call pot, I guess. River definitely doesn't help. He's going to ship it. I mean, I can't really see how we're good here, like ever, so I'll fold threes. Yeah, he says he had pocket kings. I believe him. That's probably not a good river shove. Like, I don't think that, once there are two pairs on board, I don't think any hand worse than, I don't think any hand worse than kings calls there very much. Like, even, like, queens has a hard time calling down there with two pairs on board for that deep. So, I don't know, in a single raise pot, it's like... He doesn't really seem like the type to be making big bluffs very much, at least not thus far, so... yeah, flop a gutter here to the queen. Just go ahead and stab out with the bigger 3/4 pot flop bet here. Try to get some folds. Turn actually helps me. I can now hit a queen or an 8 for a straight, so I'm gonna bomb pretty big on the turn. 3/4 again. Just using kind of very standard generic sizes thus far. The river is a heart. I don't really think that many hands fold now. I'm just gonna give up this hand. Queen high is good. He turned a 7. Wow. His check call there with queen high is really bad. That doesn't really do anything. Makes no sense to just check call like queen high, no draw there. But I guess getting lucky and working out that time, but that's fine. Flop a pair. I'm just gonna try leading into him real small and like see how he reacts to that. It's possible he might make big mistakes against leads. Barrel 3/4 on the turn. Lots of draws call me. I could probably just 3/4 barrel the river and get called by enough worse hands here. Yeah, ace is good. See, it looks looking like those kind of starting with smaller bets and then leading into bigger bets on later streets. He might sort of be generally suspicious of that kind of betting pattern. So I'm going to tend toward doing that with my good hands for now. Unless I see him adjust somehow. He leads pot. I mean, whatever. I'll just peel one. I don't really know. I mean, I'll end up folding turn a lot, but I haven't seen him do it before, and whatever. That's fine. Just fold a 5. He limps. This isn't a good enough hand to raise. Flop middle pair, though, so I just lead out here in a limped pot pretty easily with any pair. Get raised. I don't know. I'll just fold. Like, I think he's going to continue a lot here. And I also think he's probably, like, based on the fact that he said he had kings earlier, I don't think he was lying. So I actually suspect that he probably plays his very good hands too passively pre-flop. Expect he probably doesn't 3-bet enough. Although he did that time. But, like, in general, I expect him to do some weird, tricky things with very good hands pre-flop some of the time. In spots where he probably should just 3-bet them. Here we'll go ahead and, 5x his limp to see what happens here. You get limp called. I'm just going to check this flop, though. I have a bluff catcher type of hand that I don't want to turn into a total bluff. And a good portion of the time I can just check down and win at the river with ace high. Maybe catch a bluff once in a while. Alright, let's see what he's doing there. River to 5, nice hand. So he had a good question there about why I called this river bet with ace high. So here, we're going to do some pot odds math for him real quick. Anyway, just explaining some basic pot odds ideas there. So, have to half pot here. So we're going to raise 5x over his limp again. Again, this is wider than I typically do this, but I think that I'll have a pretty good post-flop edge. And I expect him to probably make a fair number of pretty big post-flop mistakes. So, but that's not a good flop to see bet bluff into with nothing, so I'm just checking and folding to really any meaningful bet here. So, like, I don't think that he's inclined to be bluffing tremendously often here. I think that he's probably just very merged in general, so he'll probably make some exploitative folds. Alright, so we have a kind of sucker open-ended straight draw here. Half sucker draw. He just folds. That's good. So yeah, I think, right. So we're 3-betting him with Queen Jack, you know, it's heads up. We get min 4-bet and call. I don't really know what that's about. That makes me a little wary. Like, that might be a monster hand. I'm not. And obviously, having flop nothing here, I'm not very happy. But now that I pick up third nut flush draw on the turn, I'm going to take a pretty big stab at it. Calls. I actually think we can bluff shove here really often. Like, I mean, yeah. It's just almost impossible for him to have an 8 very much there, and like it's really hard for him. I don't think he's really inclined to be making hero calls on me. I don't think that he expects me to be making big bluffs very much so far, so that's why that works there. Certainly under a different dynamic where he gives me less credit, I wouldn't be able to bluff there, but he just played the hand so passively on weekly post-flop, and there's so many nasty big hands I can have and so few he can have that I think it makes sense as a bluff there, but I don't know. Like, I don't really know what his min 4-betting range is. It's the first time I've seen him 4-bet, so who knows? I mean, hope it was good. He leads pot. I'll just fold my nothing. So here we have a pretty easy standard 3-bet with king queen suited. And he calls. We flop gutter. I'm just gonna see about half pot here with my gutter. Kind of hope for a fold a third of the time, you know. Get called. Oh, we pick up flush draw on the turn. That's definitely worth, well, see, I think pot's probably too big to check jam, but we can just barrel pretty big here. Get called again. River doesn't help. That sucks. We're dead here. We really, I mean, he has an ace too often. We can't be good here very much at all. River turned a random 7. Oh, man. His flop call is really, really poor. And then that's extremely lucky to turn a random 7 there. So badly played, but lucky on his part. Min 3-bet, I can't fold anything for that price. Flop a gutter to the 9. Although now we know he's sort of peeling like really wide in some pretty dumb spots. So we'll just take a pretty big stab here with our gutter. Get check raised huge. Alright, nice end. That's a good play, I think. Probably, depending on what he has. But it gets us to fold. So. Nips it again, we'll check. gonna raise. I mean, I think he just has a hand too much. Like limp in or raise my lead on the flop. I have no reason to continue with bottom pair no draw. He's gonna 3-bet me. I will peel. I think he's starting to 3-bet more. He's certainly experimenting with some more 3-bets. Pots it. I'll just fold. I don't know what he's doing. You can raise this versus limp, I think. Nothing. I guess, again, on a super dry board like this where I need very little protection and they just have like a middling bluff catcher, I'm just going to try to check it down. Maybe catch a bluff. River doesn't really, I mean, I guess 5x might have straight. We'll pay off half pot. You could have air here. No, or he actually did hit the 5x straight, of course. Backdoor straight is good. Nice hand. No, I think his flop lead pot here is probably just very, very unbalanced towards strong hands, so I have no real reason to be challenging him, you know, with a short stack and no equity anyway. I'm going to value 3-bet this because I expect enough worse hands to call. 4-bet pot. Alright, good end open. Yeah, I think he's on quite a heater right now. He seems to have hit like a pretty huge number of really good hands in a very short period of time, so it happens. Yeah, he says he has aces, and I believe him. I mean, I don't see much reason for him to be lying. It's consistent with what he did. So this is a pretty coordinated board that I don't like much, and I have a vulnerable overpair, so I'm just going to bet big. He folds, fine. Flop flush draw and a gutter to the 3. That's great. So go with that. I'm actually going to bet pot this time and sort of see how he reacts to that. Yeah, he just folds. It's fine. Oh, we get walked with the 10-3 off. Very good. They flop a middle pair. It's not bad. He leads out the minimum. I'm actually just going to kind of make a smallish raise here to sort of define my hand for thin value / protection. Yeah. Min raises. I'll go with the small 3-bet against the min raise here. Get min 4-bet. I don't know what the min 4-bet is all about here. Call. Flop nothing, of course. And I think that his 4-betting range is probably real strong, especially the pot bet on this flop, so he's pretty easy fold. Pretty big and fold. So his kings again, I believe him. I mean, I think he's just hitting a huge streak of good hands right now, so 5x over his limp. Just half pot c-bet is fine on a board this uncoordinated. Should get enough folds, but well, I can't really do much now. I'm just gonna give up. I'm gonna rebuy back to 100 here. Just fold here with king high. And for 149.67. So go ahead and just 5x over his limp here. Pick up, yeah, gutter on the turn. No, I'm just not going to bother here. If I have nothing here, I guess just see that half pot. I mean, I guess I can try to rep an ace here for one street, but if he doesn't fold the turn, we're dead. I mean, yeah, there's nothing we can do here to give up. He has an ace, almost certainly. Yeah, nice hand. We flop nothing, and I just don't think he's really giving up the flop much at all. So I'm just not really going to be c-betting any just junk into him very much. I think he just doesn't fold the flop really, and he's been getting very, 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 very lucky on turns and rivers. So he probably perceives himself as playing really well right now because he's up a lot, but he's actually just kind of making a lot of poor calls and then hitting lucky rivers. Min 3-bet, we obviously have to call. Flop on a flush draw. It's not bad. Bets pot, we just have to peel. Turn doesn't help us. Half pot, we unfortunately also have to call that. River does not help us. I'm going to just turn this into a bluff shove here. I mean, I can have the king off and enough. I mean, if he calls, it's a good call. I mean, that's a terrible call, but good hand. That's the kind of call that, like, I happen to have the tiny portion of my range that's a bluff, but I mean, even though it worked out this one time, that's actually a really terrible call. Like, profoundly terrible, but it happened to work out this one time, so good hand. So, yeah, okay, at this point I've concluded he's just a calling station that doesn't understand the fold button. So, I guess he's adjusted. Or no, he was playing kind of tight earlier. It seems like he's just playing really stationy now, though. Like, I mean, it's a pretty absurd call down there. Anyway, so I guess I'm in for 250 or whatever now. So, here we are 5xing over his limp again. Flop top pair, cool. Just gonna try to get with the half pot here and see if he'll get him to come along. It's a good turn card. Go with the bigger turn bet now. It's a good river card. I think I actually just get called by worse hands if I overshove here because he's stationing me a ton. I fold, that's fine. Oh, I'm making a video. No worries, what's up? Yeah, again, I just believe him. Like, he doesn't do this that often, and I keep having bottom pair when he does, and I think he has it too much for me to really call that flop raise with bottom pair. So here we've got like kind of some backdoor draws, like backdoor second nut flush draw and so on. Yeah, I don't really think we can keep betting our middling pair with no kicker here, so. Alright, so again, we're just going with the bigger flop bets now because we think he's just folding less often. Let's see, but here I have the backdoor diamond draw. That's a great trump card for me. I pick up the nut flush draw and the gutter to the 2. Now he's claiming in the chat during the hand that he turned the straight flush. I don't know. We'll see. He leads pot. I'll just call. River the nut flush. So here I have the absolute nuts, unless he has the 2-4 of diamonds. Just gonna overshove for value. Oh wow, he really did have it. He wasn't kidding. Huh, nice hand. Alright, well. That's a bad turn card. Very bad. I'm gonna take a stab at the river though. I min raises. Alright, whatever. I'm just gonna half pot again on the turn here, and then maybe make a wonky river overbet. Like some silly overshove here and see if he'll pay me off. No. Turn jack here is not bad. You can just half pot river again here. I think we can get called by a worse pair enough. This hand's probably good enough to raise over his limp. Call. Flipping middle pair. Probably just half pot against a weak passive player. Anyway, it looks like he's going to be done in a minute. This has been a really strange and interesting session with James Luk hitting 2 straight flushes in an hour. Ace side takes it down. Go ahead and raise his limp with a wide range, somewhat wide range here. A little wider than I usually would. But again, I mean, I do still expect to have a good post-flop edge, but you know, I mean, not much I can do when he's rolling like God all the way through. I'm going to try overbetting the turn here. Oh, he snapped wolves, that's fine. Alright, third time in a row all in free, I'll call it ace king. Oh, he could hit an 8. Nope, ace king wins. And pair of 4 takes it down. Nice hand. Alright, all in pre-flop for fun here. Oh, he made the straight. You got me. Well, that was the end of that strange, crazy session. Thanks for watching.